Republicans think that I will finish the job of deficit reduction through spending cuts alone. And you hear that sometimes coming from them. That sort of after today, we're just going to try to shove only spending cuts down, shove spending cuts at us that will hurt seniors or hurt students or hurt middle-class families without asking also equivalent sacrifice from millionaires or companies with a lot of lobbyists, et cetera. If they think that's going to be the formula for how we solve this thing, then they've got another thing coming. That's not how it's going to work.
I would think Democrats would be embarrassed at what the president did. It was a campaign event. And for the president to do that leaves you with only one impression. He doesn't want a deal. But we're going to rise above that. Just like in football, we're told don't retaliate to the guy that taunts you.
I see it differently. I think this is a president. This is a second-term president who no longer has to pretend. In the first term, he had to pretend he cared about spending and debt. In fact, when he sold Obamacare, if you remember the first speech where he announced it, he said, this is a way to deal with our debt. The main driver of debt is health care costs, and what I'm going to do is going to cure the problem. That's how he sold it. I don't think he believed it then. I'm not sure he believes it now.
Well, I'm going to just, it's just such a good segue, because you don't even know that I have these things in my back pocket. And you, because I didn't brief you before.
This is like Abbott and Costello.
It really is. It's just,
we've been doing
we'll end 2012.
Doing the gig for so long,
That's
we
right.
don't even have to communicate.
Just listen to the president talk about entitlements and when he's talking to Republicans.
The major driver of our long-term liabilities, everybody here knows, is Medicare and Medicaid and our health care spending. Nothing comes close. Social Security we could probably fix the same way Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan sat down together and they could figure something out. That is manageable. Medicare and Medicaid, massive problem down the road. That's going to be what our children have to worry about. We're not going to be able to do anything about any of these entitlements if what we do is characterize whatever proposals are put out there as, well, you know, that's the other party is being irresponsible. The other party's trying to hurt our senior citizens. That the other party is doing X, Y, Z. That's why I say, if we're going to frame these debates in ways that allow us to solve them, then we can't start off by figuring out, A, who's to blame, B, how can we make the American people afraid of the other side?
Okay, that was the Republican retreat in Baltimore in 2010.
Let me assure the folks out there, this was not a setup. I had no idea you're going to show
No,
up.
it's true.
But I mean, this is exactly who he was when he was in the first term and he needed re-election. Remember what he said, this Wall Street Journal report of what he said to Boehner right after the election when he offered him the $800 billion in increased revenues. Boehner said, what do I get in return? And Obama said, nothing. I get that for free. That's who he is, his second term. This is a guy who has no interest in cutting spending. He has an interest in expanding the welfare state. He's now achieved it in health care. He spoke early in his presidency. In the first speech he gave to a joint session of Congress, he was going to essentially nationalize education, energy, and health care. He's in part on his way. He's going to revolutionize the country. He doesn't care. When we heard that, what he said this afternoon, he was mocking the idea of cutting spending. And then he said, I'm going to stand up for seniors and all the others who will be hurt. This was an announcement that after all this is done, he doesn't care if we go over the cliff or not. He thinks he wins either way. He's not going to bend on spending in the future.
Down the road, does this deal come together, this mini deal, tonight, tomorrow?
I think it likely will, and I think it's likely the House will reject it.
Well, it's the big night. Let's take a live look. Do we have the live shot of Times Square, all those people huddled down there? A lot of them just, oh, that is live. Look at that. They're all packing in there. A lot of them have been there all day, getting ready for that big crystal ball to drop. There you see the countdown, the New Year's countdown on the screen. 2012, there's the ball. It's been a crazy year, crazy news year as well. We're back with the panel. We decided that we would try the highlights and lowlights of 2012 with the panel for this second panel. The last panel of 2012, I should point out.
Knock on wood.
Charles, highlight and lowlight.
But I don't want to preempt you, but I just got a news alert. Godot has just arrived at the Senate chamber. So there's hope.
Wow.
All right, a highlight.
Someone just laughed out there in TV land.
Somebody in Times Square.
They're like, what is that?
One person.
Are rolling out of their seats.
The only sober person in Times Square just laughed. Highlight, Scott Walker's victory in Wisconsin and the right-to-work legislation in Michigan, which was rather astounding, which shows that whereas the liberals control the national government, energetic and smart conservatives are doing their best state level, and it'll be interesting for the future and encouraging. Low light, not just the 9/11 attack in Benghazi, but the demonstrations around the Arab world, all the way from Tunisia to Indonesia, which sort of mocked the Obama outreach to the Muslim world. He had assumed it was because of the iniquities of the Bush administration that we had so much anti-Americanism. Well, it turned out it's not, and that was a rude awakening.
I'll be a little more upbeat and say that the one unifying highlight was that the Mayans were proven wrong about the end of the world. And I know that's low-hanging fruit, but if you look back on 2012, it was a really awful, awful year in so many ways, from Sandy Hook on down. And at least we can all agree that a fiery conflagration that consumed the planet didn't happen, and that's usually good news.
John Boehner, for him it was his plan C. Never turned out.
The Mayans didn't come through.
He got that one wrong too. It was a bad year for Boehner all around.
Yeah. So fiscal cliff, you'd say that's a low light?
Well, no. I mean, it's a wake-up call. We've got to get something done, and I think it just accentuates, it will make the debate more intense, but it's a debate that we have to have.
This has been a Sunfish production.